Let's begin our class in a comfortable seated position. You can choose to sit cross-legged or have your legs extended out in front of you. You could choose to sit on the ground, or you could use any kind of prop like a block or a bolster. You could even sit on a piece of furniture if you have something close by. Allowing yourself to find a position that feels comfortable and supported. Maybe closing your eyes and turning your attention inward. Let's allow our weight to be equally distributed between left and right. Both hips are equally heavy on the ground or on whatever they're supported by. And lift up out of the hips. Imagine lengthening out through the crown of the head, allowing the spine to lengthen. And soften the shoulders down away from the ears. Allow the arms to hang heavy at the side. Softening and releasing the muscles of the face. We'll allow ourselves to settle into this shape, connecting a bit more deeply at every point of contact. So wherever your body touches down on the ground or on some other kind of support, let yourself get a bit heavier. And at the same time, continue to look for lightness and expansion as you lengthen up. Once you feel settled, turning the attention to the breath without trying to change anything at first, just noticing how the body feels as you inhale and exhale. Noticing what parts of the body move as you breathe. And if you do notice that your breath is a bit shallow or fast, try drawing the next inhale a little bit deeper into the body. Allow the breath to travel down the back of the throat. Feel the ribs expand as the lungs fill up, and then allow the belly to rise as the air moves down. On the exhale, let all of that air back up and out, slow and steady. And we want to find a balance between a deeper than usual breath, but something that doesn't feel forceful, something that feels comfortable and sustainable. Once you've found a rhythm that works for you, we'll start to invite a little bit of movement back into the body, trying to maintain that rhythm as we gently wiggle fingers, wiggle toes, circling wrists, and if it's available, circling the ankles as well. Maybe turning the head from side to side. Starting to allow the daylight back in, gently blinking the eyes open if they were closed. And then returning to stillness. From here, let's drop the chin down towards the chest and slowly roll the chin over towards one shoulder. We'll go all the way back down through center and over to the other side. Taking your time moving side to side. And if you'd like, you can match your movement with your breath, inhaling to one side and exhaling to the other. One more time in either direction, and then return the head to center whenever you're ready. And there we'll start to roll through the shoulders, lifting shoulders up towards the ears on the inhale, and then squeezing the shoulder blades together, drawing them down the back on the exhale. Using the inhale to lift up and exhale to squeeze and lower. Really taking your time. Noticing any sensation between the shoulder blades across the chest. And notice the feeling of the breath. Good. We'll change directions, still lifting up on the inhale, but then rolling the shoulders forward, spreading the shoulder blades nice and wide on the exhale, allowing them to drop down as you breathe out. And returning the shoulders back to stillness, allowing them to drop down away from the ears. We'll pause for a moment. Take a nice, slow, steady inhale and exhale. And then we'll drop the left hand down onto the ground. With the next inhale, we'll take the right hand up overhead, reaching first straight up. And then as we exhale, leaning over towards the left, keeping the right hip nice and heavy, rolling that right shoulder back slightly so the chest is open. You can either gaze down towards the floor, straight ahead, or up towards the ceiling. As we inhale, let's focus on lengthening all along the right side of the body, reaching up through those right fingertips. And as we exhale, maybe hinge and fold a little bit further to the left, focusing more on the lengthening than the folding here. Breathing into your expand and to soften. And then we'll switch sides, taking the left hand up, dropping the right hand down. We'll inhale, reach those left fingertips high. Exhale, extend those left fingertips over towards the right side. Keeping the left hip heavy, so we're lengthening all the way from the left hip up to the left fingertips. Again, here you might need to roll your left shoulder back slightly to open up through the chest. Shoulders should be sort of in the same plane of movement as the hips. You can gaze down towards the ground, up towards the ceiling, or somewhere neutral in front of you, whatever feels best for your neck. Nice lengthening inhale and a softening exhale. And then we'll return all the way back to center. From here, let's move any props out of the way and we'll come up onto our hands and our knees, finding a tabletop position. So if you had a block or a bolster, just move it off to the side. We'll meet in tabletop with our wrists under our shoulders, knees under hips. Toes can be flat on the floor or you can tuck them under, whatever you prefer. We'll move through a few rounds of cat and cow. So as we inhale, we'll lower the belly down, draw the shoulders back, and look forward for cow pose. And then as we exhale, let's round the spine, spread the shoulders, and look back to the knees, pressing the floor away. Using the inhale to drop the belly down, draw shoulders back, and look forward, lengthen the front of the body. And then exhale to the opposite, lengthen the back of the body as you press the floor away, drop the head down, and look back towards the knees. Moving at your own pace. Using the inhale to move into cow pose and exhale to move into cat. Really taking your time and focusing on matching your movement with your breath. If you'd like a little bit more of a mental challenge, you can focus on starting the movement with your tailbone, moving like a wave through the spine, coming slowly into the movement. So as you're moving into cat pose, tailbone moves first, head drops down last. And as you're moving into cat, tailbone lifts first and head lifts last. Still matching movement with breath. Let's do 2 more inhales and exhales, really taking your time. Noticing any sensation that arises as you move through these shapes. And then whenever you're ready, we'll meet back up in tabletop. From here, let's extend the right leg back behind us. We'll tuck the toes under and press back through the heel, finding a gentle stretch maybe through the calf or through the hamstrings. Try to keep the hips level and shoulders level, gaze straight down towards the ground so the spine is neutral. Maybe draw the lower belly up and in slightly to bring a little bit more support to the low back. Take a nice breath in, press back. Exhale, move that knee back in line with the left. We'll switch sides, stepping the left foot back behind us, tucking those toes under, and then pressing back through the left heel. Same thing on this side, try to find some balance between left and right. Allow the spine to be in a neutral shape. Press the floor away. Take a nice deep breath in, one last press back. And then we'll move back into our tabletop again. From here, let's take the right hand in towards the center of the mat, and we'll step the right foot just outside of that right hand. You can help yourself forward if you need to, taking more than one step if you need to. You want to land with right knee stacking over right ankle and toes pointing sort of towards the front of the mat. If they open out to the side a little bit, that's okay too. From here, we'll get a little bit lighter on the fingertips. Transfer a little bit more weight into the back knee and back foot, and then come all the way up to an upright kneeling position, stacking hands on top of the right thigh. We're going to look for a little bit of a stretch along the front of the left hip. So if you're already feeling it where you are, you can stay right there. If you're not feeling it just yet, come back out of the lunge a little bit, scoop the tailbone down and forward, and then press into it once again. Notice if that changes anything for you. If you're still not quite feeling anything across the front of that left hip, you can just heel toe your right foot slightly forward, stopping each time you move the foot to check in and see how you feel. Once you reach that point where you start to feel that gentle stretch, we'll pause. You can either leave your hands resting on your right thigh, you can bring them together in front of your heart, or you could extend them up overhead, hands about shoulder distance apart, or palms touching. Choosing whichever variation works best for you right now. Taking a couple of slow, deep breaths. Continue to press that left hip forward. Find equal weight between the front leg and back leg. And then when you're ready, we'll release both hands back down onto the ground, stepping the right foot back. And take a moment to shift the hips side to side, bringing the hands back underneath the shoulders. Notice anything that feels different from one side to the other. And then we'll switch. Let's take the left hand in towards the center of the mat. We'll step the left foot just outside of that left hand. Again, the toes can either point forward or slightly out to the side. We want the left knee stacking over the left ankle. Once you've found that position, we'll get a little bit lighter on our fingertips, transfer a little bit more weight back into the right leg, and then we'll come all the way upright. So we want to land with that left knee still stacking over left ankle, about a 90-degree angle on the front leg. And we're going to start to look for a little bit of a stretch along the front of the right hip. So if you're already feeling it where you are, you can stay just there. If you're not feeling it yet, we'll start by coming out of the lunge slightly. So coming out and back. We'll tuck the tailbone under and forward. So we're squeezing through the right glute. And then we'll come into that lunge again. So the left knee stacks over left ankle. If that's enough to bring you some sensation there, we'll stay as you are. If you're not feeling it just yet and you need to move a little bit further, you can start to heel toe your left foot forward. Again, stopping each time you make a movement, checking in on that right hip, and stopping when you start to feel that stretch. We want just a gentle stretch there. We're warming up at the moment. You can allow your hands to continue to rest on your left thigh. You can bring them together in front of your heart, or you could extend them up overhead. Again, hands could be hip distance apart, shoulder distance apart, or the palms could touch. Allow your gaze to settle on something in front of you that's not moving, and then allow it to soften. Keeping tension out of the neck, out of the jaw, and continuing to breathe slow and steady. Good. When you're ready, releasing your hands back down onto the ground, we'll step the left foot back to meet the right. And we'll walk the hands back up towards the body, coming to an upright kneeling position. From here, let's take the left foot out to the left side. Toes can either point out towards the left side, towards the front of your mat, or up towards the ceiling. On our hips and shoulders facing forward, so they're in the same plane of movement again. Take a nice deep breath in, lift up. And as we exhale, we'll start to slide the left hand down the left leg and extend the right arm up and over. So here again, we want to find a little bit of a stretch along the right side of the body, maybe along the front of the right hip. You might feel some sensation along the inner left thigh as well, along the back, just checking in with yourself and noticing what you feel and where you feel it. We want to stay away from putting pressure on the left knee, so keep those left fingertips really light on the left leg. We'll breathe in, reach up, and breathe out again, maybe hinge a little bit over towards the left, lengthening all along the right side of the body. Good, let's release. We'll bring that right hand down onto the ground, just underneath the shoulder. If the left toes were pointed up, we'll plant them down on the floor so they're now pointing the same direction as your hips, as your upper body. We'll extend the left arm up and away from those left toes. So now we're lengthening all along the left side of the body in a modified extended side angle. Gaze can be down towards the ground, straight out in front of you, or up overhead, maybe rolling that left shoulder back slightly. Breathe in to lengthen. Press those hips forward. And then we'll breathe out, release, come all the way back to that upright time. And then coming all the way up. From here, we'll take the right foot out to the right side. Same options, toes can point forward, they can point out to the side, or they can point up towards the ceiling. It's going to be a slightly different sensation depending on what you choose. So playing around with it, you can take whatever option you'd like. From here, take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, we'll start to slide the right hand down the right leg, and then inhale the left arm up and over. Allowing that right hand to rest just lightly on the right leg. Inhale, reach up through the left fingertips, and then exhale, hinge and lean towards the right. Paying particular attention to sensation along the left side of the body and the inner right thigh. We want a gentle stretch, nothing too intense. Pressing those hips forward, maybe rolling the left shoulder back. Gaze can be down towards the right toes out in front of you or up towards the ceiling. Good. One more inhale, reach up. And exhale, we'll release, bringing the hands back down, allowing the right knee to meet the left once again. We'll come all the way upright into a kneeling position, hands onto hips, and then we'll step up to the top of our mat, taking your time using any support that you need. Making your way to the top of your mat with your feet about hip distance apart. Here, the toes can point forward or they can be slightly open, whatever feels more comfortable for you. They can be hip distance apart or they can be a little bit closer. We want a neutral, comfortable position here, something that feels really strong and stable. Once you've chosen the position for your feet, let's lift the toes up. Notice how the ball of the foot and the heel press a little bit more deeply into the ground. Maybe the inner arch of the foot lifts up slightly. See if you can hold on to that as you lower the toes back down. I want to keep a deep connection between the ball of the foot and the heel with the ground. Let's roll the shoulders up, back, and down, and then allow the arms to release at the sides. Palms can face in towards the body or out in front of you, whatever you prefer, but notice how that feels in your shoulders and your chest. Maybe try one and then the other. See if you can feel a difference. And then choose whichever one feels best, whichever one feels most natural for you right now. From here, continuing to press down through the ball of the foot and the heel. As we inhale, let's lift up through the crown of the head, lengthening the spine. So each time we inhale, we'll focus on getting a little bit taller. Each time we exhale, we'll focus on grounding down a little bit more deeply, feeling strong and stable, steady in this mountain pose. Take a moment to find something in front of you that's not moving to focus your gaze on. Allow your gaze to soften a little bit. So again, there's no stress through the face. The muscles are not engaged overly active. We'll bring our hands onto our hips and then we'll start to slide the right foot back behind us, keeping our eye on that focal point to help us balance. If you do need the support of a wall or a chair, you can always bring something close to you or move closer to something that will be helpful to you. We want to plant the back foot so that the toes are pointing forwards and the heel is lifted. We'll press back through that right heel, sorry. Again, here we're going to look for a little bit of sensation along the front of the right hip. So you can adjust to make yourself comfortable by sliding that right foot further back or further forward as needed. We want the left knee stacking over the left ankle and hips and shoulders squaring forwards. From here, you can leave your hands on your hips. You can bring them together in front of your heart, or you can extend them up overhead, choosing whichever variation suits you. And just like we did in our mountain pose, as we inhale, let's focus on lifting up, getting a little bit taller. And as we exhale, we'll root down through the feet, press back through the right heel, ground down through the left ball of the foot and the heel. Breathe in, lift up, and breathe out, ground down. Good, let's release hands back onto hips and we'll step that right foot forward, continuing to focus on that point in front of you that you've chosen. We'll take a nice deep breath in. And as we exhale, we'll slide the left foot back behind us, coming into a lunge on the other side. The left toes are pointing forwards and tucked under. The heel is pressing back. Right knee is stacking over the right ankle. And we're looking for a little bit of sensation along the front of the left hip, just as we did in our low lunge at the beginning of the class. So you can adjust if you need to, moving that left foot further forward or further back. You can scoop your tailbone under, squeeze through the left glute to activate a little bit more, press that left hip forward. Once you found that place where there's a little bit of stretch but nothing too intense, we'll pause there. You can either leave your hands at your hips, you can bring them together in front of your heart, or you can extend them up overhead. Breathing slowly in and out. As we inhale, lifting up out of the hips, lengthening the spine. And as we exhale, grounding down and pressing back through the left heel. Good, let's release hands down to hips. Focusing your gaze, we'll step forward once again. And we'll pause for a moment in our mountain pose, choosing whichever position for your arms you like. Allowing yourself to ground down equally through both feet. Lift up tall, breathe in. And release, breathe out. We'll move to something similar, but a little bit more challenging, slightly different sensation along the back leg. Starting by bringing hands onto hips, we'll slide the right foot back behind us. This time though, we're gonna plant the heel down and allow the toes to point towards the top right corner of the mat, setting up for warrior one. So we still want our left knee stacking over our left ankle. We want our hips and shoulders squaring forward. So if you notice that you're opening out towards the right side, you might want to step your right foot a little bit wider on your mat or a little bit further forward on your mat to give yourself the space you need to square your hips forward. Paying special attention to the front of the right hip, but now also the right calf, and finding a spot that feels, again, like a little bit of stretch for you, nothing too uncomfortable. Once you've found that position, you can either leave your hands at your hips, you can bring them together in front of your heart, or you can extend them up overhead, hands apart or palms touching. As we breathe in, we'll lift up. And as we breathe out, we'll lunge into that left knee, press down into the right heel, feeling strong and powerful in our warrior one. That same sense of equal grounding through both feet, of lengthening up as we inhale. Good, let's release hands down onto hips and we'll step forward once again. Taking a moment to roll out through the ankles if you need to. And then we'll prepare for the same on the other side. Taking a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, we'll slide the left foot back behind us. This time again, planting the heel, allowing those left toes to point towards the top left corner of the mat. with right knee over right ankle. We're going to tune into those common points of tension, the front of the left hip, the back of the left calf, and also to our alignment. So we want our hips and shoulders facing towards the front of the mat, and we want a gentle amount of sensation. If you find that your hips are opening out to the left, you might need to step your left foot a little bit wider on your mat or a little bit further forward. If you're finding that sensation is too much, you might also need to take a shorter stance, step that left foot a little bit further forward. Once you've found the shape that works for you right now, we'll focus on inhaling, lifting up, exhaling, grounding down. Hands can remain on hips, they can come to heart center, or they can extend up overhead. We'll breathe in, lift up, and breathe out, ground down. One more inhale. We'll release our hands down and step back to the top of the mat on the exhale. Taking a moment again in our mountain pose, checking in, lifting up, feeling lighter as we inhale, grounding down, feeling more connected with the earth as we exhale. When you're ready, taking your hands onto your hips. This time we're going to step the left foot out to the side, really, really far back towards the opposite side of the mat. And we're going to turn the right toes so that they're facing the same direction. So the whole body's facing the side of the mat. Feet are a comfortable distance apart, so probably a little bit wider than your warrior one. Toes are going to point slightly inward, so the heels are a little bit wider than the toes. We'll have our hands on our hips to start off with. As we inhale, we'll lift up through the chest, we exhale, we'll hinge the hips, press the hips back and lean forward. You can walk your hands down your legs, bring them onto the ground. If you need some extra support, you could use a block or, again, a piece of furniture even, or a wall out in front of you. Here we're looking for a sensation of lengthening along the backs of the legs, maybe some stretch through the low back, maybe some sensation through the inner thighs. Let the shoulders down away from the ears, squeezing the shoulder blades together on the back. Gaze is down towards the ground. As we inhale, we'll focus on lengthening the crown of the head away from the tailbone. And as we exhale, maybe hinging a little bit deeper. Breathing in to lengthen, breathing out to release. You can choose to stay here, or if you'd like a little bit of a twist added in, you can bring your left hand down on the ground directly in front of your face. As you inhale, reach the right hand up, opening out towards the right side. Take a nice deep breath in, reach up. And then on the exhale, release that right hand down. We'll switch as we inhale, taking the left hand up, opening out towards the left side. Breathe in, and then exhale, release. Bend through the knees. We'll walk the hands up, the legs coming all the way back upright. Hands on hips. We'll find a comfortable distance between the feet. Again, you might need to adjust now that you've been in that shape. Let's turn our right toes towards the front of the mat, and we'll bend the right knee over the right ankle, setting up for warrior two. So you can adjust the stance again if you need to. With the right knee stacking over right ankle. A little bit of a stretch maybe through the inner left thigh, but nothing too intense. And then equal weight between both feet. Hips and shoulders are going to face towards the side of the mat, so everything's lined up. And we'll extend the arms out over the front and back legs. You can turn to look over top of your right middle finger. Allow your gaze to soften. Draw the shoulder blades together as your fingers spread wide. Allow that right knee to open out towards the right side, engaging through the outer right hip, the outer right glutes. You can stay in stillness, or as you inhale, you can drop your left hand down, turn your right palm up, and reach those right fingertips for the sky, coming into exalted warrior. And then we'll exhale, coming back to warrior two. Arms are parallel with the ground. Again, inhaling, reaching up, lengthening the right side of the body. And exhaling, warrior two. And one last time, inhale, reach up. And exhale, warrior two. Take our hands onto our hips. We'll start to straighten out the right leg. Turn those right toes out to the side of the mat, and then we'll switch. Take the left toes out towards the back of the mat and bend the left knee over the left ankle. We'll turn the torso to face towards the side of the mat, shoulders stacking over hips. We'll extend our arms out front and back, one over each leg. Gazing over top of the left fingertips. Draw the shoulder blades together, reach the fingers wide. Breathe in, lift up, lengthen the spine, breathe out, lunge into that left knee. You can either stay in stillness, focusing on your warrior two, or if you'd like to move a little bit as you inhale, drop the right hand down, turn the left palm up and reach those left fingertips high for exalted warrior, lengthening the left side of the body. Exhaling, we'll return to warrior two. Inhaling, reaching up. Don't lose the lunge in the left knee. And exhaling, warrior two. And one more time, inhale, reach up. And exhale, warrior two. Take our hands onto our hips. We'll straighten out through that left leg. Turn the left toes to face the same way as the right, only this time we want the toes a little bit wider than the heels. So the toes are pointing out towards the top and bottom corners of the mat. We'll take a nice deep breath in, lift up. As we exhale, we'll bend through those knees, sink the hips down, open the knees out to the sides. You can either leave your hands on your hips or your thighs for support, or you can bring your elbows to 90 degrees, fingertips reaching up, and draw those elbows back and together. Palms are stretched wide, shoulder blades are drawing together. Breathing in, finding space, expansion across the chest. Breathing out, maybe sinking the hips a little bit lower, finding goddess pose. Breathe in, lengthen. Breathe out, soften and sink. Good, let's release hands onto hips. We'll inhale, come all the way back up. Heel toe those feet together, and then step back to the top of the mat. We'll find our mountain pose for a moment of quiet checking in. Grounding down through the ball of foot and the heel, allowing the toes and the inner arch to be light. Shrugging the shoulders up, back and down. Arms extend out at the sides. Use your breath to give yourself a sense of lengthening, of lightness as you inhale, and a sense of grounding, connectedness as you exhale. And as you breathe in and out, do a quick check-in throughout the body. Notice any sensation. Notice anything that's changed from your first mountain pose. Breathing slowly in and slowly out. And again, let's take a moment to find something in front of us that's not moving, something to focus our gaze on. Allow the gaze to settle and soften. When you're ready, take your hands onto your hips. We'll turn the right knee out to the right side, bringing the right heel just inside the right ankle. Toes just touch down on the ground for support. You can either choose to stay here if your balance is a little bit unsteady, or if you want to focus on opening your right knee out to the side, engaging a little bit more through the glutes, you can focus on that. If you'd like to focus on your balance a little bit more, you can let those right toes get even lighter on the floor until they lift all the way off. And then slowly slide the sole of the right foot just up inside the right calf or inside the right thigh. Left calf. As we breathe in, we'll lift up. And as we breathe out, we'll ground down through the left foot. Continue to open that right knee out to the side. You can either stay with hands on hips, you can bring them together in front of your heart. Or this pose is known as tree pose. You can extend your arms up overhead like the branches of a tree if that's comfortable for you. Taking whichever version suits you right now, remembering that you can always use a wall or a piece of furniture for support if you're feeling a bit unsteady. Breathing in to lengthen and breathing out to ground down. Good. From here, let's bring our hands back down onto our hips. We'll take that right ankle and cross it over the left thigh. So if you were having some trouble with your balance, I would encourage you to use a wall or a piece of furniture for support on this one. We no longer have the right toes for support on the ground. I want to keep that right ankle flexed. Keep the knee at around 90 degrees. Hands come to hips. We'll inhale, lift up. As we exhale, we'll bend through the left knee and start to sit the hips back and down. Keep opening the right knee out to the right side and go just as far as is comfortable for you. Allow your gaze to stay focused on whatever you chose in front of you. You can leave your hands on your hips. You can bring them to your heart, or again, you can extend them up overhead. Breathing in, lengthening the spine, and breathing out, maybe sinking those hips a little bit lower. And we'll do one more inhale, one more exhale. And then we'll inhale to rise up and step down. Let's take a moment to roll through wrists and roll through ankles. And then we'll find our mountain pose once again. Steady, firm ground beneath both feet. Lengthen the spine. Allow the gaze to settle and focus. And then we'll return our hands onto our hips. Start to shift the weight over into the right foot. And then we'll turn the left knee open to the left side. Left heel comes to the inner right ankle. Toes are touching down on the floor. And focus on engaging through the outside of the left leg, outside of the left glutes, opening that left knee out to the side. You can choose to stay here, or you can slide the sole of the left foot up inside of the calf or inside of the thigh, choosing whichever option works best for you. Keep opening the left knee out. Keep grounding down through the right foot, lifting up through this crown of the head. You can leave your hands at your hips. You can bring them together in front of your heart, or you can extend them up overhead. If hands are in front of the heart, you may choose to find a lotus mudra, opening the away from, keeping the pinky and the thumb sealed so that the inside of your hands are open like a flower. Breathing in, lifting up. Breathing out, grounding down. Take one more nice deep breath in. And then we'll exhale. Let's reach down towards that left ankle and take it across the right thigh. So again, if you need some extra support, feel free to take it. I want to keep the left ankle flexed, so the toes are drawing back towards the shin. Hands can come to hips to start off with. We'll inhale, lift up. As we exhale, we'll sink the hips back and down. Coming just as low as is comfortable for you, paying attention to sensation in the outer left hip, in the right ankle, right knee. You can leave hands at hips. You can bring them together in front of your heart, or you can extend them up overhead, whichever you'd like. Breathing in, lengthening the spine. Breathing out, maybe sitting a little bit deeper. Keeping your eyes on your focal point. One more nice deep breath in. Deep breath out. And then we'll inhale to release, coming all the way up and lowering feet and lowering hands. Taking a moment to roll through wrists, roll through ankles, releasing any tension that's built there. And then we'll come back to the top of the mat if we've moved away. Take a nice deep breath in. As we exhale, we'll slide our right foot back behind us, just as we did at the start of our standing series, coming into a high lunge. From here, let's take our hands down onto the ground, and we'll lower that right knee down behind us. You may need to slide the right knee a little bit further back, and then we'll untuck the toes. So this is a slightly different low lunge than we had before, focusing here more on lowering the hips down towards the ground. From here, when you're ready, start to heel toe the left foot over towards the right hand. Flex at the ankle like we just did in our balancing pose, and then allow the left knee to open out just behind the left hand. You can stay high in this pose if you want to. You can bring some support under your left hip if you need. You can use a block or a cushion. Or if it's comfortable for you, you can slide that right foot back a little bit more, lowering the hips down towards the ground. We're setting up in pigeon pose here. I'm going to try to have the back heel stacked over the back ankle. So we're not sickling out to the side. Toes are pointing straight back. Tops of the toes are engaged with the ground. Hips are still squaring towards the front of the mat. Shoulders are squaring as well. Chest is open. Breathe in, lift up, and breathe out, soften down. You can choose to stay upright, or if it's comfortable for you, you could come down onto your elbows. Again, here, if you have a bolster or a cushion and you'd like to bring that under your elbows, you can do that too. If it's comfortable for you and you'd like to come all the way down, you could cross your forearms and rest your forehead on the back of them. You could stack your fists and rest your forehead on the back of that. Allowing yourself a few moments to adjust. And then we'll settle into our pigeon pose, giving ourselves a few deep breaths in and out. Using the inhale to create a sense of spaciousness as your lungs expand, your ribcage expands on all four sides. And as you exhale, maybe take a little bit of tension that you might be feeling and let it go with the breath. If you notice that you're carrying tension through your jaw, through your neck, see if you can let that go. Allow the upper and lower teeth to separate from one another, soften the expression on your face. And let's take 3 more slow, deep breaths here. Whenever you finish your 3 breaths, there's no rush. You can walk your hands back up towards your body and then allow your weight to shift over onto your left hip. Draw that right knee out in front of you. We'll take both feet out in front of us about hip distance apart. Bring the hands back behind us for support, and we'll gently shift those knees from side to side, moving really nice and slow. Noticing sensation in the right hip, sensation in the left hip. And from here, we'll come back into our tabletop, coming up onto hands and knees, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. We'll step our right foot up towards the center of the mat. If you need to, you can slide your left foot back a little bit further, taking a slightly wider low lunge. From here, we'll heel toe the right foot over towards the left wrist. Keep the ankle flexed, and then allow the right knee to come down behind the right wrist. You can stay as you are. You can support your right hip with a block or a cushion if you need to. If it's comfortable for you, you might slide your left knee even further back, allowing your hips to come a little bit lower to the ground. Stopping at whatever point you start to feel a little bit of uncomfortable sensation. We never want to feel pain in these poses. We want to be able to rest in them for a little bit of a longer period of time than some of the hatha poses. So using any supports that you need. You can choose to stay upright, opening through the chest, breathing in deeply, expanding. Or if you'd prefer, you can come down onto your elbows or even further, allowing your upper body to rest down and focus your breath more on the back of the body. Allowing your breathing to expand all 4 sides of the rib cage. And again, with each exhale, allow a little bit of tension to leave the body. Supporting the head so that the neck feels relaxed. And as much as you can, keeping tension out of the face, out of the neck, out of the shoulders. Breathing slow and steady. And we'll take 3 more deep inhales and exhales on this side, counting them out for yourself. And again, there's no rush, but whenever you finish your 3 deep breaths, you can start to roll your weight over onto your right hip. Walk your hands back up towards your body. Draw your left knee forward until you can take both feet out in front of you, hands back behind you. Feet about hip distance apart, and start to shift those knees from side to side. Slow and controlled movements. And bringing it back to stillness. Let's take our hands to the backs of our legs and slowly come all the way down onto the ground. And take our feet out to the top corners of our mats and allow our toes to rock open to the side. If you have some kind of a prop like a bolster or a rolled blanket that you'd like to place beneath your knees, you can do that as well. If it's uncomfortable to have your feet wide apart and your knees opening out to the sides, another option is to place your feet down onto the ground and let your knees rest against one another. Feeling down all seated position, you could choose that as well, choosing whatever position feels most comfortable for you to finish out the class. If you are laying on your back, taking a moment to draw your shoulders down, pressing the shoulder blades into the mat. Take our arms out alongside the body, taking up as much room as you need. You can allow the palms to face up towards the ceiling or down towards the ground, choosing whichever option feels most comforting for you right now. We'll tuck the chin down towards the chest to lengthen the back of the neck. And maybe allow the eyes to close softly or let your gaze drift downward. Shifting any limbs, any parts of the body that don't feel completely comfortable to allow yourself to settle in. And then allow your jaw to relax open. Let the tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Softening the little muscles around the eyes, releasing expression from the forehead. Allowing the shoulders to get a bit heavier on the ground, feeling connection between the backs of the arms and the earth. At each place where the shoulders and the arms touch down, let them get a little bit heavier. Allow that connection to the ground to deepen. Really allow the body to accept the support from beneath. As you start to ground down, allowing the muscles around those joints to soften. Letting go of a sense of holding on. Allowing the earth to hold you. Continuing down the body, noticing the next point of contact with the earth might be somewhere on your back, might be your hips. Allowing yourself to really tune into that connection. Let yourself get a bit heavier. As the ground supports you, let the muscles around soften, releasing through the hips, releasing through the low back. Continuing down the backs of the legs, allowing yourself to get heavier and heavier. I feel that really deep connection through my calves and my heel. You might feel it somewhere different. Taking a moment to find out for yourself where you feel the most connected with your mat. And at those points, let yourself settle in. Let the mat or the ground or whatever's beneath you support you. Releasing tension from the muscles, softening through the glutes, through hamstrings, squats, calves, softening through the muscles around the shin and the ankles, allowing your toes to be in a comfortable, natural position. And then turning our attention to the top of the body, maybe focusing on the torso, feeling the breath moving in and out, finding a sense of lightness as we inhale, creating some space, finding some expansion. So that each time we inhale, let's focus on that sense of lightness, that sense of spaciousness. And each time we exhale, let's focus on that sense of grounding, sense of heaviness. And if you have been focusing on controlling your breath, making it deeper than usual, even letting that go, allowing your breathing to move at a comfortable, natural rhythm, allowing yourself to release all effort, giving yourself the time to just be in this moment. Nothing that you need to be doing, allowing your breath to flow naturally in and out, feeling lighter and more grounded with each inhale and exhale. If in the silence your thoughts have wandered, start to gather them back in, turning your body back to your breath. Paying attention to how it feels, we'll start to wiggle fingers and wiggle toes, letting a little movement at a time back into the body. Start to turn the head from side to side. Circle wrists and circle ankles. And still with the eyes closed or softened downward. Bring the body back to stillness and draw the knees in towards the chest. Wrapping hands around shins or hamstrings, we'll rock gently from side to side a couple of times, massaging the low back. And making that movement gradually bigger and bigger. Roll all the way over onto one side of the body, choosing whichever you prefer. Allowing that lower arm to lift overhead so you can rest your ear on your bicep like a pillow. Draw your knees into your chest nice and close. Allow whichever hand is on top to rest on your legs or on the ground in front of you. We take a moment here to set an intention for your day, or to think of something in your life that you're grateful for. Whenever you're ready, moving slowly, we'll make our way up to whichever seated position you'd like. You can use any kind of props that you want. You can allow your legs to be crossed, or you can extend them out in front of you. Moving any flesh out of the way so you can ground down through both sitting bones. We'll lengthen the spine, sitting up nice and tall. Bring hands together in front of the heart, sealing the outer edges of the palms and tips of the fingers. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to guide you through this practice. Namaste.